is Mary Boukouvalas, and you're on Star Scene for What's My Scene with the legendary Steve Kilbey. Hey, Steve.
Hooray. Hello, how are you? How is everybody?
Really well, really well. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Now, 11 women, how did you come up with this idea?
Look, I've had this idea for a while, for a long time. I've been thinking I should make an album and each song should be a woman. And it's been floating around in my head for a long time. And, you know, then I was doing these Instagram performances. And then I'll do my first album in its entirety. I'll do my second album in its entirety, third album, fourth album, fifth album. After a while, there's too many albums and too much hassle learning them all. I was spending all week just brushing up on all these old songs. And I said, one week I just said, I'm going to write a new album this week. And next week I'll play it all to you. And that'll be the end of it. And then when I wrote the songs that week, some of them actually in my typical fashion, I announced it on Monday, and on Thursday I still hadn't done it. So I sat down and I wrote 3 in one go. I sat down and wrote 3 songs in a row. And then when I learned the songs and played them, I couldn't let them go. I was planning to go, look, I'm so casual and cavalier. I could write 10 great songs and then just throw them away and nothing will ever happen. But when I'd written them and played them a bit, I just started thinking, oh God, I've got to record them now. And then I wrote one more that didn't quite get in the first 10, so it became 11. And I went up the road to Marshall Cullen's new studio up in Gosford, and a couple of really important friends came along, which I wasn't totally planning on. Gareth Koch came in and played some classical and Spanish guitar.
Brilliant.
Barton Price I already had lined up. I was going to do everything myself. Barton Price came in from the Models and played drums. And then his mate, Roger Mason, who I've known forever, but I've never really worked with him or anything, he came in and said, would you like some keyboards? And I was like, yeah. I was thinking, oh God, he's going to bring a synthesizer in. And he got on the piano and on the Hammond organ, and he just absolutely aced it. So with Barton, Gareth and Roger all playing on the album, their amazing expertise and understanding exactly what the songs needed, they really helped me transform it, you know, into what it is now. I think, you know, a pretty good record.
Let's go to a couple of the songs. Poppy Byron.
Well, you know, I asked my girlfriend what her parents and her grandparents' name were, and I was sure she said one of them's surname was Byron. And so I said, one day I said to her, what did Poppy Byron think of that? Because you know how kids in Australia often call their maternal grandparent Poppy, you know, Poppy Smith or Poppy. I said, what did Poppy Byron think of that? And she said, who the fuck is Poppy Byron? And then I just imagined when we established there was no Poppy Byron, I thought, what about a little song about perhaps someone who was hanging around with Lord Byron and Percy Shelley and Mary Shelley, Poppy Byron, and sort of, you know, that's all you need. It's like the songs are just, the songs are like the hypnagogic state when you're falling asleep and ideas just float through your mind and they're gone. That's what I want the songs on this album, they're like that. It's like Poppy Byron is this grasped at idea, and then the song finishes and she's gone. And like all my favorite songs, I'm still listening to them 40, 50 years later to understand and milk all the implications out of them. Yeah. So Poppy Byron is just like a dream going past, you know, like this possible woman.
And it does start quite like a dream, that instrumental section, just as you begin the album. It's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. As we're making this album, Gareth Koch said to me, who plays the guitar, he said, there's a lot of very schizophrenic stuff. He said, it's like the songs are really happy and then suddenly they turn a corner and everything sort of goes weird. And then they come back into focus again. And I really like, I really don't like songs that just start here and go all the way there and they finish there. I like it when the music and the lyrics, like in the space of 3 minutes, you feel like you've been on a journey. And I like that about Poppy Byron. It starts, and the album starts, comes in on this sort of weirdness, and then Poppy appears, and it's very sunshiny. And then in the middle of the song, always it returns to this kind of this chord, and Roger and Gareth have filled it all in, and it's sort of everything sort of becomes uncertain again. And then she reappears, and it's all sunshine. I think that's one of the things you can do with music. And you know, if it was a film or an article or a ballet or anything else, you've got to spell it all out. But the great things with songs are, there's no you don't need an explanation. You know, you could appear on stage and go, you know, I shot a man just to watch him die, and no one goes, no, you didn't. Otherwise, you'd be in jail. Or you know, you can. You know, your baby can leave you, your baby can come back, you can have $1 million, you can be dead, you can be someone else, you can be first person, second person, third person. You can be a song can be anything it likes. And that's what I love about it, working the ambiguity of all the possible emotions within a 3-minute song to take the listener on this real ride, using the instruments and the words and everything, to sort of take them on a complete journey. That's the beauty of songs. That, to me, that's why the song is the ultimate art form, and you can listen to it over and over and over and over. It's always ambiguous, and like, I'm working on ambiguity. That's my specialty, is to make things ambiguous so everybody who hears it can think something different. You know, that's what it's all about.
I love how you said ambiguity, but at the same time, it's not confusing.
Fine line between ambiguity and meaninglessness.
Yes.
If you have something that's completely meaningless, it's not ambiguous anymore. It's just nothing. Yep. So there's this really there's this place where there's concrete facts, and then there's this place where there's meaninglessness. And right in the middle is this incredibly fine line that a few people can hit, where it's ambiguous, where it could be anything at all. And that somehow that ambiguity unlocks this. And you feel, I used to listen to Mark Bolan when I first discovered him when I was 16. I go, how do I feel like he's singing to me, who he's never met and doesn't know? I'm just a kid going to a school in Canberra. And, you know, I listened to this record made by this guy in England who's 10 years older than me, but it feels like he's singing right to me. And I sort of worked out, you know, my brain goes into overdrive, trying to imagine how all my favorite songwriters pull off these tricks. And then I sort of try and emulate that. One thing I always came back to was that enough ambiguity so you feel you can belong in the song yourself. So the song can be you. You know, if I start a song off like, yeah, fuck the police, I'm going to destroy the world. Some people like that, but a lot of people might go, I can't really relate to that. Or, you know, like, hey, everything's love, everything's beautiful. People can't necessarily relate to that either. But if you have this kind of obscure little story about a woman who was half a dream and half a mistake, and people can go, wow, you know what I mean? They can get in on that and sort of float along with it. They're my listeners. They're the people I'm after.
Yeah. And you really end it with something that's a lot more mellow. Yeah, Think of You.
That's the one I wrote after I did the gig. The next day I woke up and went, oh, fuck, I've written this new song. It's got to be on the album. Yeah, it's okay. Here's another thing I noticed in my, you know, wanting to be a songwriter my whole life, you know, becoming obsessed with music, you know, when I was a little kid and listening to music all along, I was always amazed how a sad song can make you happy. So it's a paradox that music effortlessly pulls up. We listen to these sad. There used to be a TV show, and it was like this. It was in Italy somewhere, and one after another, these Italian women would come on, Amore. agony and the ecstasy of being in love, these sad love songs. I couldn't understand the words, but you get the gist of what's happening. And yet all the audience are ecstatically happy. And yet the women are all singing how amores fucked them over. It's a wonderful contradiction. With me, happy songs can really make me sad. Like sad in a way I don't want to be sad. Like especially songs that are jolly or merry or sort of fake happiness. That really upsets me. But really sad songs can make you this triumphant sort of feeling of like, I can overcome. I don't, in the deepest level of songwriting, I still don't understand how that works. But really sad songs, usually in conversations when people come up to me after my shows in the church, the songs I really love are the sad ones. Yeah. And it's just this weird thing that sad music makes us happy, and I can't argue with it. So I try to have a good balance of happy and sad, and then songs that are uncategorizable, where you go, well, what was that emotion? That what was the emotion behind that one? And then within one song, sort of like Poppy Byron, and then bang, it hits that F chord, and everything's like, oh, I thought I was happy there, but now everything's sort of become a bit confused and swirling. So, yeah, I like to think about this stuff a lot. I mean, I think about it all the time. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about chords and words and melodies and, oh, what if I did this and that? It's just an obsession I've had my whole life since I became aware of music, and my dad would play music. My dad played the piano, and we used to talk about music, and we'd drive along in the car and listen to records and talk about the music. And when I'd listen, my favorite record when I was a kid was this Frank Sinatra record, Only the Lonely. The song was a song of love lost. Each place I go, only the lonely go. You would think, if you met that guy and had coffee and he just kept telling you, go, oh my God, you stagger away from there like, Jesus Christ. But over an album with beautiful instrumentation, and the instruments, so, he goes, a little small cafe, and the violins might just come in with a sigh and a harp ripples, and just the way it reacted with my soul, and everything went, you've got to grow up and do this. You've got to understand it, figure out how this is done, because this is what your other people go, I'm going to be a missionary, and other people go, I'm going to be a builder, and other people go, I'm going to go to sea and be a captain of a ship. For me, it was like, I have to write songs. More than even being a musician, more than even being a singer, I had to write the songs, and writing was what I was obsessed by. And when I would buy a single and get it home, and I saw it was by Joe Blow, but it was written by Bill Smith, I was like, oh, he didn't even fucking write it, And the Beatles, before the Beatles, it's hard to remember this, but before the Beatles, people didn't write their own songs. Frank Sinatra didn't write any of those songs on that album. Elvis didn't write his own songs. No, Bing Crosby, none of them did. And then the Beatles came along and they sort of set the template for the idea of the performer writing their own songs. I love to sing other people's songs. I love it when other people sing my songs, but still, the ultimate thing is when someone sings their own, they've got a fucking brilliant song, like Bolan, Bowie, Dylan, the Beatles, the Stones,
Kilbey.
Lou Reed, all these guys.
Don't forget Kilbey.
And they're somewhere right down the bottom.
No. I mean, Under the Milky Way, Reptile, there's some of my earliest memories. I just cannot believe how brilliant those songs are. I won't say were.
Thank you. Well, thank you. And it was, it was such a different process doing those things. Long, dragged out process where you'd write the song. Like I wrote Under the Milky Way in 1986, and then was recorded in 1987. It came out in 1988. Meanwhile, I'd been involved in 500 arguments with somebody about it. Should be this, should be that, should have this, should have that. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. You know, the guys in the band, they never liked me. I never liked them. They never liked each other. Everything was arguing and stuff. So when I listened to Reptile or Under the Milky Way, I see it all and feel all that testosterone and jockeying for position and all this stuff that went on. Whereas this album was like, the songs were written in 5 minutes, and then I go up there and Barton, get on the drums. This one's called Poppy Byron. It goes, Poppy Byron. And it's, the whole thing's done. And then Roger comes in and plays on it, and Gareth plays a bit of guitar, and it's all over. And so the song for me remains like, I can never hear Reptile. It's like you see those interviews with the Beatles and people going, oh man, Paul, you know, especially John. John couldn't get over all the stuff that was going on to make the records and all the arguments and fights. You could see that he had, the beauty of the songs was obscured to him under a layer of legal and, you know, all the things that were happening. That's how it is with for the church for me. I can see Reptile and Milky Way are kind of nice, neat, good songs, but hard for me to sort of approach them with a fresh mind and hear it without all the rhetoric that was being thrown around, especially when we were sent to America. When we recorded that album, we were real underdogs, and the guys producing it were sort of doing it under sufferance until the next good thing came along, right? Couldn't, when the album came out and was successful, then they went, wow, yeah. But at the time, there was a lot of, Kilbey, go on and fucking do this. What the fuck? What's this fucking Under the Milky Way? What's that fucking mean? You know what I mean? You had to explain and argue with everything. And all the guys in the band, you know, oh, Kilbey's got 2 songs on the album now, and we've only got 1, and all this. And, you know, there's a lot of sort of stuff goes on with it that obscures the music in the end.
Thank you so much for your time. I can't
Thank you,
wait
darling.
till everyone hears this record.